Hey everybody, it's Eric Balance coming to you with the Resilient Minds podcast, where I feature beautiful entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts in their field, where they help us discover their X factor, their experience of life, only to discover how they were able to accomplish and find out their Y factor, their big why, their purpose in life. So join me as we get to discover the beauty of our minds and how can we really continue to go after the biggest and most wildest dreams while we continue to pursue and manifest our greatest intelligence that comes from the heart. Also, if you haven't, go check out the new alignment course that I've created at www.ericbalance.com/alignment, ALIGNMENT. See you on the show. Welcome everybody to the Resilient Minds podcast. I'm excited because today we're hanging out with a dear friend of mine that I've gotten to know over the years in Tulum. We met, but this man is he's a living legend. I have to say, he's a really good man. His name's Rodo. Rodo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric.
But I have to share. Bro, I have to share it because before we met, there was like a lot of curiosity I had about the breath, the deep altered states. And for those of you that are just coming on, Rodo is like a maestro, alchemical creator of alchemy, this beautiful methodology that he's delivered about deep altered states of consciousness and really being able to navigate that in a powerful way through the breath. And so, brother, I'd love for you to just share a little bit about, how long you've been doing it and why you got into this deep work with pranayama.
Well, thank you very much, man. I never believed I was going to be on your podcast with you. It's always been such a trip every time we see each other. And I'm very glad because you really know the work that I'm offering. And I'm very happy to share it with your podcast and to your platform. This concept comes from understanding the mind. Breathwork is something that everybody is trying at this stage, thanks to COVID, thanks to this level of anxiety that we're living in a world without breath. And what I came here to share is pretty much just the form of breath and mind navigation. Because breath work is just an instrument to understand how we can regenerate the brain, the nervous system in proper ways of breathing techniques. But the breath hold, it's such a science that never ever going deep into, because when you do a breath hold, you face your fears and anxiety. And that's something, it's a subject that is not an easy one to absorb or to work through. And all of this comes from, I've been diagnosed since I was 7 years old with ADHD and chronic depression and autism and high anxiety disorder, panicky attacks. And I never wanted to take the medicine. I never wanted to be on Ritalin or Concentra or Adderall. When I tried them, I felt like a zombie, to be honest. They don't do anything but numbs you. And when you stop drinking them, what they do to you is very shitty. So when I was 21, I started doing breath work. I started doing pranayama by the hand of Guru Nam. He's a creator of this incredible fusion of Kundalini and Kabbalah. And I went deep into the states of Gurumukhi and the highest forms of pranayama, which means you have to practice 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 hours a day in order to sustain a mental state, but it's 3 hours a day that I was really into a spiritual path. So I was having the time and I was making the processes to do them. But when I came into free diving, because I saw myself breathing inside the water like any other spiritual story, I found this incredible bridge that no one ever clicked. But when I did a first 5-minute, 4-minute breath hold experience on static, I reached physiological, a peak, like when I do 4 or 5 hour meditation states. So I asked myself, why am I going to meditate for 5 hours when I can just do a breath hold and go into this incredible stage? So I went deep into freediving. I became a deep diver. I went to Egypt, where the real freediver Mecca is. I became an instructor. I reached 75 plus meters deep. And once you crack those states, Man, I never done ceremonies in my life until freediving, and I never done substances until freediving. And I started understanding how substances are just the bridges. Unfortunately, when we don't understand the mechanism of the mental stability, we think it's the substance, the one that makes us feel good. And it's actually the opposite. Substances should be used as boosters once you have a vehicle, which is why the methodology is so powerful, because what I have created is such a fun way to do breath practice, breath hold navigation, and this insane in science that is called hypoxia and hypercapnia in the brain, that when we access this, we activate the real miracle, which is the contraction of the human condition, which is exactly the mind psyche as when we are in the womb of the baby, you know? The baby is not exchanging gases. The baby is bringing O2 through the cordon. And when we're born is when we breathe for the first time. So when you do the breath hold, the mechanisms put the brain back into that state. When the hypoxia kicks in, there are many theories of the CO2 expansion that goes into hypercapnia, that goes into hypoxia, and hypoxia releases DMT. But what it does to you is that physiologically, you go to the point where the brain detaches from everything. Because the only way in this mindset and this perspective of life we're attached to is when we are exchanging the gases, we are acknowledged in thinking processes, you know? But when you're in the breath hold, the brain has to die. It has to kill all the ways we believe in systems until we go into the perfect state of the contraction. And then this incredible therapy comes ahead. And this is what I'm sharing now. And you're one of the people that I've been so honored to have in my workshops.
Bro, it's been and for anybody that's listening, I'm gonna go deeper into a lot of the stuff that he's sharing. I'm gonna get curious because most of you guys probably are not aware of what some of these words may mean. But I am, because I'm like such a curious child, and you know this about me, brother. It's gonna be easy for those of you that are listening to really understand this because it's really fascinating. And so, bro, thank you, because like, again, 2 years ago when I really found you, I don't know, like the universe brought us together. It was really, I was going through like a deep transformation of my own. You know this, you know, I always shared it with you. It was very like what the fuck, who am I, why am I here, what's the point? And as you know, my sister, who has been diagnosed bipolar, was like, it was one of the big deep reasons why I kind of set out on this journey, so that I can like really help to understand, because I know how we were raised together and how she raised me, like in times where we were, you know, she's 7 years older than me. So as I was like, I felt the level of love I felt. And so all of these navigations, or like these conditionings that were offered by society to put her into medicine, or, you know, these drugs, that the antidepressants and all these things, like I felt like I lost my sister, you know what I mean? So this was also kind of, I think, I mean, I know now, but at that time, it was like this kind of deeper hunger of wanting to know how I can really go and like figure out ways for my sister to like experience this. And I can't wait to bring her. And I know that it's all going to happen the way that it needs to, because it worked for me, because it helped me navigate. And as you know, I'm a really logical guy. I work a lot with my own mind and how to communicate it to others, so that it like really is the reflection of really helping myself understand. So now it's about bringing this to light. So thank you, bro, first and foremost.
Thank you.
Next thing I want to share is this ability of substance. You know, as substance has always been such an like when I started my journey 19 years ago, I was addicted to substance, like to cocaine and crack and all these substances. And like you said, I really resonate with the whole ideology of it being the bridge, right? Of wanting to like understand what the fuck we're here for. And so this contraction that you talked about, this mammalian reflex, right? that you really had expressed is an important part of us to go back and feel like we're inside the mother's womb, right? And so it's interesting how this contraction is actually the freedom of the expansion of our awareness. Do you mind diving a little bit deeper on that, bro?
Wow. Thank you, bro. It's such a beautiful question, and it's such a depth, because I was talking with a researcher from the Russian team, and I'm creating this book now that methodology is becoming something that is a vehicle that people are using often, that I need to create something that is like a stamp. And all this science based on DMT, hypoxia, hypercapnia, breath hold, CO2, it's on the miracle of the contraction. And the miracle of the contraction, like you just said, is when we do the breath hold, the CO2 expand, the CO2 activates the brain, the hypoxia state tells the brain to tell the diaphragm to bomb O2 to the extremity, so we keep self-aware. And this is the bridge, this is the point that you just explained. Because when we reach the contraction, all the expansion that we are outside contracts to the inside, and this is the inwards. This is where all the attachments, all the fears, all the codependencies crack. This is where in the book I call false narratives. When we have a lack of dopamine, when we have a lack of serotonin, when we are depressed, when we are junkies, because junkies is not only substances, junkies can be alcohol, can be tobacco, can be work, can be workout, can be sex, It's just a mind state. It's just a need of approval. It's a need of feeling alive, and we need the edge. And the edge is what allows us to feel good. This is where you said yourself, when you were a junkie, when you were someone that abuses substances, it was because you needed that feeling for you to step back and say, okay, now I can feel. This is what the contraction does to us. When we reach the contraction, all that false statements that we're seeing and thinking dissolves. And then we go inwards. And this is a switch that I like to call interface of mind-heart connection. This is where you feel. You stop thinking and you start feeling. And this is when you and I connected. Because not only when you survived what you survived, you became a wise person, When we do the shadow work, when we do the bad things in life and we survive, we become wise because we push our limits. And then when the limits comes back, it gives us wisdom. This is pretty much mathematics of the spiritual world. And the contraction is what allows us to connect, because it doesn't matter how you think and how you are. The moment that you connect through the contraction, we connect as persons, we connect soul to soul, heart to heart, no more mind thinking process. And this is where all these new technologies based, all this awareness, all this new consciousness, it comes from that state. When we go inwards, the mind cannot think. When you deep dive, you cannot go deep if you do not surrender to death. You cannot go down if you don't believe in what you're doing. And if you cannot believe in yourself if you're thinking I'm good at something. If you're thinking, there's always a handbrake. But if you know, there's no limit. And this is the point you're asking me to explain, because when we go into the contraction state, the mind is absorbed. The thinking process of the human body stops, and we wire this incredible parallel world that I'm not here to teach consciousness, I'm here to teach awareness, because consciousnness requires a strict spiritual practice. But awareness, thanks to all these psychedelic realms and all these psychedelic states and all these abuses of the substances, people are connected to. It's just that I believe I have created a methodology or a mapping so we can navigate this labyrinth of the death, of the fear, of the anxiety, for us to wire and not to be slaves of our feelings of the attachments or what it makes us be anxious or fear. This is where, by belief in philosophically speaking, this is where the challenge is. Most people are in the mind thinking process and then they numb themselves. But the thinking process is still going on. Once we switch back that mind thinking process, when we kill the ego, we kill the mind, then this depth rises. This is the darkness that now we are able to embrace, not to reject.
I love it. And I think this is something that, you talked about the mind heart interface, and I always talk about heart set versus mindset. And this is the coherence that really collectively brings us closer together so that we can tap into that collective wisdom, that, sovereign mindset, that I like to call. But this is the knowing, like you're saying. So there's a difference between knowing and doing, right? And
Yeah.
there's different philosophies between like how are we going to fight matter with matter, but what if we go into the quantum? And so like this is exactly that explanation, is when you're in that state of yourself and you're in the ability of knowing who you are, because you don't think it's just your imagination or you're just some child. You actually are the child, the divine one, because you are able to bring that all to life within yourself. And then as a result, everything starts to show up in your life. And I think, brother, the essence of the importance of the hypoxia and how do I pronounce it?
Hypoxia, yeah.
Hypoxia, and the release of the DMT, really, I think it brings up this thing that I call the reversal aging process. And so
100%.
you know what I mean? Like it literally
Yeah.
brings, like, this reversal aging process allows us to tap into this like childlike innocence, this ability to connect deeply, to be open and vulnerable to each other, because we know that there's nothing to fear anymore. And so, in fact, like, I personally know that, like, I've, like, my physical appearance, my essence, everything has like become younger. And I think that this is the key that can help so many individuals understand that we're no longer aging. We're actually becoming to coming back to our pure selves.
Yes.
Tell
Yes,
me.
and
Yes.
well,
Go.
what I could add on what you're saying, it's
Please.
because
Please.
after many years of practicing meditation, you're thinking, still you're meditating. I'm good, I feel good. You make these narratives inside the meditation states. Yogis, they have the practices. They go to the flow state after hours of doing shivasanas or asanas, and they keep these vinyasas, they keep these kriyas, but they're thinking still they can. They're breathing through it. The key element that I'm bringing to this equation that you are just beautifully explained is death. Yeah. Death is the highest teacher. Death is the one that can tell us about self-love, surrendering, and humility. I'm a very toxic behavior person, same as you. But during the years, we found the ways to control it and navigate those statements of behavior. But still, I have a partner, I have a 6-month baby. And if my partner tricks me and I get mad, it takes me a while to calm down. At least I'm not reacting anymore. I'm not letting my fire, I'm not letting my destroy anger comes out and control my mind. But I do have the physiological aspects. So what I'm going with this is that I can breathe through, I can do pranayama, and I can stabilize my mind and center. But when I go freediving, like I did this morning, and I went to the pool training, and I surrendered to that because the breath hold forces us to go to the edge, the same edge that you're explaining. This is where the interface, this is the hypoxia state, because the edge is what allows us to really let go when we have toxic behaviors, when we have false narratives. When I'm mad, what the heck? What do I keep this relationship for? I can find somebody that can make me better. I can't find someone better than her. She's incredible. She's the best partner I ever had in my life. But my toxicity will always trick us. We're self-made people. So we know what it means to come from scratch. So to lose something that makes us a stability is not something that we're scared of. And when we let toxicity kicks in our minds, there's no limit. For us, it's fuck it, next one. That's toxic behavior. That's false narratives. But when you surrender to that, when you go freediving, or you do my methodology, and you are on the breath hold, and you're in the moment that you're gonna switch the interface, you realize it's just bullshit. You realize it's just your toxicity risking the adrenaline of the death. But when death rises, humility comes. And I don't want to miss this partner. I don't want to miss my family. But you need to switch. And how the freaking fuck do we know better? We can't. We were junkies. If we have ADHD and we have depression, we don't know limits. We just don't. That's why we always in the interface of death. That's why we're fucking up many
and we don't believe in limits. We
don't
I know,
limits.
bro, I know like this toxic behavior that you're talking about too. When people would try to put limits on me, I'd say, fuck you, I'm going to go do it anyways. And now I even got a bigger reason to say, I'm going to go, because I don't believe, and I still, to this day, it's like, I don't believe in any limits. Like, because if we're truly part of our creative behavior and ability to create, we need to be willing to challenge it all. You know what I mean? And do it from a place of integrity and love, of course.
There you go. Thank you. Because the last journey we did together, you were incredible. You are in the perfect state. You are in the maximum state of the hypoxia, contraction, expansion. But the missing link between knowing and keep flowing versus I have to is what you were wiring, remember? And you were in the maximum 6-minute breath hold. You were perfect. But in that state, because of our toxic past, you're linked the I should. And when you saw me and I was like, relax, you switch back. And that's the key, man. So we don't lose our grit all the time.
Yeah. This was the thing. And this is where we're learning, where I believe in life, right? It's really like the integrity. The way we do one thing is the way we do everything. And I think that our life, as we've learned over the years, brother, is a form of patterns, right? And we start to navigate and become these masters of creating our own patterns and recognize our old patterns. And so instead of allowing these old patterns to take us over, using different expressions, right? Like the breath hold, dance, music, sound, conversation, family. These are pieces that allow us to break down a new paradigm and bring out the best version of ourselves. And I think that, you talked about death in different ways, where it could be like, how many different great success stories have come from people having nothing or going towards, basically a near-death experiences or feeling like they had nothing left. And then all these success stories, they come because they realized that, hey, I'm at a I can't even take care of myself. I gotta put all my energy. I gotta create all of this essence. I gotta bring all of this to creation. And now they start to flourish. And I think that people, they don't need to actually get to that level, especially understanding this type of work. They can actually start to learn how to navigate to get to that feeling of death and understand their wisdom, their power, their grace, that they don't even need medicine, that they are the medicine, that the breath hold and the music and the connection of the way that you bring the alchemy together of really rewiring these patterns and making people understand, hey, you no longer have to be part of these patterns. You become the master of your own patterns through this breath work, through these breath holds that you've deliberately created through your own experiences.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. We're not in times of good. We're not in times of gurus. We're in times of brotherhood. So I love to say I share this for us to connect as brothers. And I'm just guiding you and showing you these tools. Because now we're in the new age of awareness and consciousness. We have Wim Hof and we have different elements that everyone is a powerful tool. Cold is the master of the master. Bread holds on cold, on ice is like the next level. But each one of us are bringing to this new era, these new tools of awareness and consciousness.
It's funny actually. You remember Laura Hoff, right? Wim's daughter. Yeah. So she's actually coming to Dubai at the end of August. She's gonna do an event here, and we're gonna see maybe too what else is possible. But the coolest thing that I've actually, when we did an event in Ibiza, was bringing this breath work and then going under like we do in the pool. So you know what I did? I went underneath like we did in the pool. So I
Yeah.
was in the cold, and then I was like, I'm gonna take this to the next level. And I did the breath. And then I went underneath the water, and everybody, including Laura and her sister, were like, Eric's fucking crazy. Like, is he dying right now? Everyone's like, yep, he's dying. There was a video of me literally like underneath the water, like just doing what you taught me along with what they did. And but the thing is, because I know you told me like, don't do this be careful about doing this. Or they told me about their breath work, not to do it underneath the water. And
Correct.
so what I did was I did your breath work instead.
Correct.
And yeah, so then this way I wouldn't drown. But they were all watching me anyway.
Exactly.
So it was good.
Thank you so much. Anyway, you said it right. You said it properly right. Yes, exactly.
So bro, you mentioned DMT. I know that there's probably going to be people that are either listening that are curious about DMT. You know, we talked about the other day about some people think that it's like a drug. Maybe you can expand on like the process of it, and also the letting go of it in our pineal gland, because I think it's important.
Well, it's hilarious because now you're in Dubai. I came from Qatar a few weeks ago, and when we were doing the workshops, the people were like, please don't mention the boosters like cannabis or psilocybin. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm just gonna talk about DMT. And they were like, no. Like it's you could be in jail. I'm like, why am I gonna be in jail? You produce DMT from your lungs. What do you mean? Really? I'm like, of course. Boosters are, psilocybin and cannabis. They're not produced by the body. That's why we can intoxicate the nervous system and the respiratory system and the blood system with them. But DMT, like oxytocin, is part of our body. We created it when we are freediving. We created it when we supposedly create consciousness. When we do the first breath and we exchange the gases, that's where the DMT is released. And many tribes, they call it like the molecule of God, because it's the bridge between the astral realm and the physical realm. But in the physiological aspects of the humankind and how we can heal ourselves, CO2 is a magical component that I have understood, navigate, and mastered to teach and share to access DMT. Because DMT, it's the ultimate state. When people do holotropic breath work, which is the most incredible breath technique to release and have breakthroughs, they reduce the CO2, they suffocate the body of they reduce the CO2, they intensify the CO2, and then the DMT is released because there's no more CO2 and the body has to maintain the systems. But when you do so much time of hyperventilations, you're not navigating anything. You just surrender, you breathe, and you let the mind completely unfolds. When you do the breath hold and we access the DMT, you accessing the DMT by your own choice. You're accessing by this navigation, mind thinking process that I'm showing you how to. So when we access the DMT is what it makes the pineal gland like a bling, and then everything is released. This comes from the teachings of Bufo. In Mexico, we have the most powerful DMT coming out of a frog, and we smoke it. And you surrender. And people that are not trained and they don't know how to let go, they suffer a very bad experience, because Bufo is the ultimate medicine plant, like ayahuasca. But this is a 20-minute experience. So what I trained you to is to naturally learn to navigate altered states. So ultimately, you understand how to do DMT. Why? Because one of the things I'm going to change in my present life is that in deep diving, we call nitrosis, when you break 240 feet or 180 feet, 60 meters, 70 meters, and you go beyond that, and they call it, you have a nitrosis level, so you trip out, you can have a psychotic break in those depths, or you don't. After experiencing Bufo and doing all this research, I have realized we deep divers and freediving skill, we are navigating pure DMT, because the level of clarity, there's a story of the world freediving champion that he grew with his mother in Russia, and she passed away 3 years ago. She is the one that gives us all the tools. She was the woman that came to change the game in freediving as my generation leads. His son, Alexei, is still the best freediver in the world and the most incredible person you can ever imagine that exists. This guy, his mother passed away the year, and the same year he competed in freediving. And he won 2 of the 3 disciplines. An average mind would be like, how the freaking fuck he could do that? Like, how is it possible, you know? And this is because we deep divers are trained to let go all our bad feelings, all our toxic behaviors. This is in 2 minutes and 45 seconds, how deep you can go and come back. It's so fast. We go into certain quantums that when you are back emotionally, you're clean. This is the effect of DMT. So we are going to prove that actually we are navigating DMT in freediving, but accessing the DMT and using the DMT, this is the game. You shouldn't reach DMT if you're not ready to let go, because otherwise you will see and you will feel things you don't want to, because DMT will forces you, you see? But when you learn to use the DMT and embrace death, DMT is the highest experience. I don't want to say Christ consciousness connection, but it puts you into the state of self-love that you have never experienced in your life.
I think that it really is that level of state, though, that you can really get to that level of Christ consciousness or like real actualization. Do you feel, because I don't know, like for myself, there's moments, bro, in my life where this DMT, right, whether it was Bufo, the breath work we did together, you know, different levels of awareness that I've done in even rape, bro, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's moments where I actually can tap into this feeling of connection in such a deep presence. And even now, like being in Dubai, you know, not being like totally focused in the physical world, I see my mirrors showing up with humans in such a state of awareness because my third eye is so open. And so now being in the place of like go physical, there's reflections showing up in my world that are so clear in what I need to do, and they're literally physically representing what I feel inside. And it's about really understanding that there is no, like, the veil between the spiritual and the physical has become so thin for me that some people actually, like, I know you really can resonate to this, but like there's some people that are like, Eric, like you're really playing here between the two worlds at such a close level that it feels like everywhere I go, I'm happy. You know, people are looking at me like this guy's like crazy happy, but it's because I don't know if they're, you know, like we've been so conditioned to think that there is a separation. And when really, when we understand that there isn't, that we're actually creating this astral understanding, bringing it to the physical world is our kind of responsibility. What do you feel about this, bro?
Well, first of all, bro, you're crazy as fuck. And we live in a world that, thanks to psychedelia and thanks to psychedelics, that defined line that you're talking about is making more sense. Yeah. Everything we're sharing, everything we're doing, if the psychedelics wouldn't be right now as they are, would it be just crazy people trying to talk about love and about happiness and about self-development? But thanks to Elon Musk, is one of the most representative CEOs and leaders in the world, and everybody knows that he's incredibly insane but cool, and he does some psychedelics, and everybody's into psychedelics. This defined line is based on people that they do what they love, or they're wired in a way that they feel and they act. And these laws are not spiritual anymore, are more physical, and makes more sense because the level of psychotism the human behavior or the collective awareness is connecting to, it needs to make more sense. And logically, life doesn't make sense anymore. So thanks to this new era, thanks to these new psychedelic states, things make more sense. People feel better. People are in a journey, same as another formats of these kind of workshops. I have held psychologists, I have held neuroscience, and they said to me, proudly, I will rephrase their words saying that one journey is 1 year therapy in one session. And it's not even the 1-year therapy that they take home, it's how they wired. This only can come by the need of the collective consciousness of the world that needs to switch and change. What I do is to honor the shamans, to honor the spiritual path, because not everyone has a spiritual need, but everyone has a technological aspect of awareness to understand how to not live in depression or anxiety or anger without being locked into alcohol, locked into the society needs of buying stuff to fulfill gaps of materialism so they can feel more empty. Because when you do psychedelics, you cannot be empty. You're empty, you puke. You're wired, you smile. That's it. There's no more time for lies or bullshit. And obviously one
Joy in
crazy
abundance, brother. I love it, bro. And you're right. I think, it's like, why in the past the status quo was so focused on, hey, like these guys, they're just happy and talking about love and harmony and creating because they want to be joyful and breathing, where now it's like we really want to just have this expressive, because I know for me, and I'm certain for you, that the reason that like we came here, we knew that there was like something that we needed to feel. And as men too, we've been told and conditioned. Again, I'm speaking for myself, and you can correct me if you feel the same way, that we need to go out there and be these like raw men, and this wounded masculine, where it's like, the first time we met, bro, you and me were dancing and we were like connecting. And then there were like all these beautiful, amazing ladies around us. And it's because we're tapped into this feminine presence within ourselves because we choose to love ourselves.
100%. We are in the new era of darkness. Darkness is not bad anymore. Psychedelics make darkness a source of wisdom. Death is not anymore like death. Oh my God, death is the beginning of the end. Fuck, now it's dance with death. Understand death. That is part of you. Your darkness is yourself that you rejected from your conscious behavior of thinking process. And when you do this work and you go into the darkness and you embrace your darkness, you became yourself.
That's good. Yourself is the what you wrote. You said something so beautiful. Yourself is the piece that you kind of hid from yourself.
Yeah, darkness. It's the part of yourself you don't want to embrace because the thinking process and your dogmas are holding you back. So when you embrace darkness, you embrace yourself and you become yourself.
Beautiful, bro. I think that this is part of it. It's like when we're challenged by the external circumstances of the status quo or society, and we're willing to stand in our truth, knowing that we're doing something from the place of heart, that no longer there's anything around us that can kind of take us out of alignment. And I know for myself, bro, same thing, it was like I was going down this deeper path, and it was when I started to get more curious about myself, this vulnerability came out. And so the more vulnerable that we get, and more vulnerable that this work allows people to step into, it, I think, gives them this say, hey, like, I can be this unique individual, and you can shine and you can express, and you don't need to hold back. And I think that this is something that is very important, because a lot of people are conditioned, and just as well as I do, that's been a very big kind of dogma in the Middle East, right? With like feminine, how it was a lot of suppression, a lot of these things. So now, us showing up and wanting to really bring this level of awareness to a new wisdom, to a new light, what do you feel this vulnerable state that is going to allow so many different women and men to come out and bring out their like masculine energy or their feminine energy in a new kind of light. What do you feel is how's that going to shift?
Fuck. Don't put me against the wall here, mate.
What? I know, tell me, it's good.
I mean, I have heard the word disruptors, you know. I have heard the word indigos. You and I were generation of indigo. And the indigo persons were kids and now become grown humans. And now we're disrupting. It's not a coincidence that 25, 20, 30 years ago, psychologists said that, you know, these indigo kids are going to challenge the structures, are going to change the structures, are going to destroy the structures. What is incredibly aligned to Illuminati style of spiritual geometry is that the church loses his power. Religion is losing his power. That COVID hits the world, that there's an imminent word of war in the Europe state of the psychotic states of the brains of the people. So all these elements makes the status quo of the matrix in the need of change. So something like Arabia Saudi or Dubai or Qatar there that have welcomed us in such a graceful way is because we're not coming with a dogma or a stigmata that it will make them reject automatically a feeling. They will make them be curious. And at the moment they experience these words and these behaviors and they see integrity, because in the past, they only saw weird people or yogis or spirituals or junkies. Now they see integrity and they at least are curious. So the outcomes of when they experience our word or our work, it's mind blown, because we're bringing a new phase of self-confidence and self-awareness of themselves without putting in the risk of their judgment over their dogmas or their religion positions. And that is making them having not only breakthroughs, but to connect to themselves in a way that they never thought of.
And we both know that when you connect to yourself, you connect to like our eternal teacher, the source, the intelligence, whatever you want to call nature. And then as a result, you get to like really truly see your mirror. You get to really hold space and reverence for your brothers and sisters, because now you see each other's wisdom in one another, right? And like you said, it's not about gurus, it's about brother and sisterhood. It's about recognizing, hey, like we're on the same path. Let's do this together. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy. Let's create.
100%.
So, bro, I can talk with you for hours. You know this, because this is like my favorite subject, your favorite subject. You know, I think every time we just continue to talk and talk and talk. But bro, I want to know, you know, I know that you just had your beautiful family, Clara and Rumi. How old's Rumi now? I know it was just 6 months.
Yeah.
So what's the inspiration? I know the name Rumi is, you know, a very famous Sufi poet, but why Rumi?
Well, actually, it was going to be Sven, but Swedish people hate the name Sven because he's like an old Swedish dude. Because my last name is super tricky, Escalante. So like Sven Escalante sounds pretty fucking cool. But Clara was like, no, I don't like Sven. And Rumi was born on the 14th of February because his name is Rumi Amor. And Amor, you know, is love. And Rumi, people think it's because of the Sufi master, which I love, and is one of the most incredible poets I ever read. But the meaning of Rumi, it means the gift of God. It means a special stone. And I'm a floaty guy. I'm floaty all around. And having a kid in this stage of my life is my biggest ground. So having called him Rumi Amor, it means because he's a gift of God that will connect everyone's concepts, you know, everyone's love. So Rumi Amor is because of that. It comes from that connection.
I love it, bro. And how does it feel to be a father, man?
You know, having mental disorders and having this lack of reality that we suffer, it's very challenging. But having a kid and having an incredible partner that allows you to ground it's a gift. It's not Walt Disney. It's more like Mordor, where you go and you suffer. But it's the most incredible overcoming wellness feeling you can ever imagine that exists. I mean, me as man, I have a dear friend, a very wise man, said, you know, Rodo, for you right now, you don't understand what the fuck is going on. You're trying to understand you have a kid, you try to understand that you're a father, that, you know, the end game. Women, they birth the kid, they feed the kid, they are attached to the kid in a way that we don't understand yet, he says, until they start saying, Papa, Papa. He's like, bro, the moment your son start calling you by the name, you're done. Like, you're never gonna be sad in your life again. So in a mechanical way, you can call them an engine of dopamine and an engine of what's the word when you hug someone? You give it's not endorphins, it's
Dopamine?
I forgot the name. No. Anyways, it's a nuclear power engine of dopamine and, you know, hormones just by hugging him. Cortisol. It is a full cortisol all the time, you know. They're never sad, they're always laughing. So it's your best stoned, you see. But when they grow, they become your true teachers, because, you know, they're absorbing wisdom. They have zero attachment, zero ego. I mean, and they say the truth. Yeah. My partner is the same. Fucking Swedish people speak the truth all the time, which is super annoying, and it's incredible because you will grow with them, like it or not. But it's your partner. You have reactions towards, you know, you have self-child dolences that you don't want to react, that you hate, that. But the kid is unconditional love. So when they reflect you, they will reflect their truth, and the truth is going to be your highest teachings, because, you know, when you're all heart open, you're able to listen. So
I love it, brother. So exciting. It's so exciting. It's amazing to watch you grow as a father, you know, especially since, like, knowing you when you and Clara were together, and then now, like, you know, with the baby. It's really beautiful to watch you guys grow as a family. It's really, I love it. I love the three of you. Please give my best to Clara. And bro, last question before we end the interview. If you had 3 days left to live, what would you do?
Shit, a lot. Because it's such a pleasure. I will draw a painting, and I will make all the arrangements so that where I die, they will put a tree on top of me. So I can be, my heritage can be, you know, my family can come and visit me and stuff like that.
Amazing, bro. Family. You know, I've asked that question over like 130 times, and I think 129 times it's been family. Always family.
It's a human condition. Or you are in the spiritual path, and then family is not the aim. But when you're not in a spiritual path, family is what makes you evolve. Yeah. But the reason why I said shit a lot is because when you die, they say that when you go back to the source, there's no human pleasures. So that's the one I'm gonna miss the most, I guess.
Brother, thank you so much for coming on the show. It really was a pleasure. Do you have anything that you want to finish off with? Anything you want to share?
Just to honor you, man. Honor your process, honor everything you're doing. You are someone that I admired and that I had witnessed going against the wave, going against people's opinion, going against the dogmas. And congratulations, because the only way you grow in this life is when you face what makes you uncomfortable, and you are an expert in that. So thank you for bringing me. I'm very honored to be here with you, and looking forward to keep growing this path with you, my friend.
Likewise. Bless you, brother. Thank you.
Hey, everyone, and thank you so much for listening to The Resilient Minds. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure to go comment and like and follow us on iTunes or Spotify, and please make sure that if you really love this, to share this episode, and make sure that you're inviting all your friends to like it as we continue to unfold what the beauty of our minds does, more importantly, how powerful our heart level of intelligence can be when we combine our heart and our brain together. And more importantly, check out the alignment course that I've created. It's seriously there for you to take advantage of at www.ericbalance.com/alignment. See you on the next show.